Hey everybody, welcome back. It's my first attempt at a video with my new computer and everything else, so this is going to be sort of a test and also just a nice little update. So here's a little review today. I've been shooting a lot. If you saw one of my earlier videos on gunpowder therapy, I determined that my Stoker side-by-side, it just doesn't really cut it for trap shooting, which is to be expected. Side-by-sides put you at a disadvantage there in the first place, and short side-by-sides put you at even more of a disadvantage. So I ended up switching things up a little bit, and this is a review on my CZ Hammer Classic. Okay, so that's this guy right here, which I have to say, this is, if you don't want to stick around for the whole video, this is just a fantastic shotgun. It's worth the buy. I'll tell you that right now in the beginning. This was purchased around September or October of this year, 2022, and at that point in time, I got a pretty good price on it. It was $1,029. So a very reasonable price. And frankly, I think they could have even charged more for it if they wanted to. I wasn't expecting a lot, but man, do I love this thing. I'm a side-by-side guy. It's what I prefer. I don't like over-unders. I don't want to shoot trap with a pump or a semi-auto. What does that leave me? Single shots and side-by-sides. I don't really like single shots either. So side-by-side it was. I just like being traditional. I like the way they point. I like the way they handle. It's just what works for me and my style of shooting. So, starting off, okay, came in. I'm not going to show it on camera because it's going to change by the time a lot of people see this video. But it came in a pretty decent plastic case with not foam insert, but some sort of molded. It's not really a cushion. It's not the greatest thing on earth, but it is still a decent case. It wasn't anti-scratch or anything, but it did come in, each piece is in a little, almost like a gun stock, but it's made out of just regular material, which is, good enough. You're not buying a super high-end shotgun here. You're buying a Turkish Huglu shotgun imported by CZ USA and sold on the market. That being said, would I rather get it directly from Huglu? No. There's no aftermarket support really for Huglu because everything's through CZ. If you do find one directly from Huglu, yeah, that's cool. You're getting the same gun, but I prefer to deal with CZ over Turkish company. So, I did a lot of research. I like CZs. I've always liked CZs. I have a CZ pistol. I have a VZ24. I've shot a bunch of CZs in the past, and that CZ puts out a good product. I put them right up there with Ruger as far as my favorite companies. So purchased the shotgun. This one is a 12 gauge. It's got a 3-inch chamber, which is exactly what I look for. I don't need a Magnum. The 30-inch barrels, which is a little bit longer than I wanted, but it keeps with the aesthetic, and frankly, it does point really well. I've got shooting footage here from trap that I'll roll in a couple different places while I'm talking about the shotgun here. I guess we'll just start out. We'll go from, we'll do it grand thumb style. We'll go from tip to butt. So, up here at the front, we've got removable chokes. They are flush fit, and you get a full set from the factory. They come in this cool little case here that's inside the box. You get 5 chokes. You have a cylinder bore, improved cylinder, modified, improved modified, and full. Those all come with it. They appear to be stainless. I'm not 100% certain. But they are very well made. They work nice. On the other hand, The one little qualm that I get with this is the choke tube wrench that they give with it. Now, I understand why they did this, but it does, this is what shows that you are, in fact, getting a gun it's not a Wesley Richards. This choke tube wrench is a universal one that's good for everything from 12 gauge all the way down to 410. It's all on one, which means when I go to use this, unless I'm on one of those smaller bores, this thing goes all the way down into the muzzle, and you don't have a whole lot of room to rotate it with your hand. Frankly, the edges on these barrels, since they're drilled and tapped, they're not exactly what I'd call rounded over. They're not sharp, but they're definitely not something that you want to bang your knuckles on either. So we got that. Okay. But it patterns very nicely. The chokes, except for, I believe, the improved modified and the full, they're all rated for steel shot. So this is a safe gun to use with steel shot. You won't damage it, at least not a lot. So that was a nice little thing to know before I bought it. As far as our sighting on this, it's a shotgun, so you're not really supposed to sight it anyway. But this is a white bead on the front. I'm not sure what it's made out of. Okay, it's some kind of metal with a little white plastic bead on it. And it's not terrible, but it does detract a little bit from the aesthetic of the gun. The plastic bead, to me, even though that may have been how it was done back in the day as well, there were numerous shotguns back 100 years ago that had plastic. That wasn't something new, but I would have rather had a brass bead on here than the plastic. That being said, the bead does pick up very nicely, and it's not so in your face that you wind up looking at the bead and pulling your shot. It works well. It's functional. And frankly, I'm not that worried about the bead, because if you're anything like me, there's a chance in the future I'm probably just going to remove the bead altogether and not put another one on. I just don't need it. So that being said, we'll work our way down a little bit. Okay, the barrels on here, according to the CZ website, these are black chrome. They're not actually blued. And I believe it, because these have a luster that you just don't get with bluing. It's really nice. That being said, it is a little more reflective than bluing. So I'm not sure how great. I haven't taken this out into the woods yet to hunt with, but I don't see it being a problem, but I also don't know. So that'll be something that's to be determined. Moving forward, we've got a pretty nice splinter forend on here. Okay, I would have liked it to be a little bit thinner, but that's just my personal preference. However, it does pick up exactly where I want it to be. I don't find myself pinching or having to squeeze anything. Just the way I always pick up, as I usually have one finger towards the front, something like that, and then the rest sort of wraps around. So I am quite happy with the front end. It's got a little bit of a divot in it, so it's perfect spot. Like I said, I can put my finger in there. It's also still easy to grab with gloves on. And that is the scoop there. As far as the foregrip, the splinter style forend, this is all Turkish walnut to my understanding. It looks like Turkish walnut. I can say that as a woodshop teacher. It's not the most highly figured wood out there, but it is finished very nicely. I believe this is oiled. I don't believe it's varnished. However, I do suspect it might just be a sort of varnish that I haven't dealt with before. That being said, it looks very nice, and I really don't have a problem with it. It just works really nicely, and it looks good. It's got some really nice medium coarseness on the checkering. I'd say it looks like it's about 20 TPI. which is right about what I like. It's not overly aggressive, but it's not so fine that it's going to wear away quick either. And then on the fore end, we've just got a lever here like normal, which is what attaches it. So you can tip it right off. Okay, I have found that this little guy does open itself up as I shoot, which is not something that I would like to see happening. I find between shots during trap that I have to just flatten it back out. It's not like it's going to pop off, but it's still a little bit annoying that that happens when you pay $1,000 for a gun. I'm going to chalk that up to maybe just a QC issue. These things are fit very tightly. The tolerances are very tight. And this is definitely an heirloom shotgun in my book. You know, it's nothing fancy, but it's going to last a while. So I figure that's something that might just be due to the tolerances being too tight. And as I use it, it does seem to be improving. So I'm wondering if maybe it's just, you know, parts are settling into place a little bit better now. So moving on. The barrels are chrome lined. I believe it's also black chrome like the outside. And they have an excellent finish. They're polished to super high gloss. You won't be able to see it on the camera even if I show you, but the barrels on this are absolutely beautiful. A little bit heavier than I would like, but it's not an old-timey shotgun, so it's, you know, we make some concessions buying something new that's meant to look old. So that being said, it's a nice sturdy lock. I've had no issues with it. It was a little bit stiff when I first got the gun, but if you do just like anything else, when you first buy a new firearm, you need to always clean it and oil it to get the packing grease out and loosen things up. I did the same thing here, and it's been great. So as far as the action, this is a side lock. I prefer side locks. They're just easier to work on in my book. And I do think that they look a little nicer. So that's the deal there. The entire action is color case hardened, and I have to say the color case hardening is done very well. You'd be hard to find better color case hardening anywhere else. It's nice and dark with good figure and good color to it. And there's not a whole lot of silver, which I am particularly happy about. I've never really liked color case hardening when it gets too much of that grayish tone to it. I like the blues and the blacks and the browns, and that's exactly what this has. So I'm very happy with that. And I mean, even the triggers are color case hardened. I can't emphasize enough how beautiful this gun is. It's got good clean lines. It's simple. It's not over the top and gaudy with engraving and all that kind of stuff. It is engraved, and the engraving is very nice. It's mainly scroll work and geometric type patterns. And in the typical Turkish style, there's some florals on here and that sort of stuff. It is extractor only, which I usually prefer. I'm not a big fan of ejectors on shotguns, but you know, it is what it is. So we've got that. It closes up very nicely. Quality is outstanding. Fit and finish is outstanding. What else do I have here? Moving back. Okay, the hammers. This is one of those other little nitpicky gripes that I've got. The hammers are well made, but there's no half-cock notch. And even though this is a rebounding hammer on this gun, the hammers, I think if you have an exposed hammer on anything, there needs to be a notch for half-cock or even quarter-cock. That being said, it doesn't hurt the function of the gun, and if you're doing things safely, it's not like you need to leave it on half-cock anyway. It does have a thumb safety on the tang, it works very nice. It's very positive and works well. I certainly enjoy it. It's pretty standard construction for a side lock. The plates pop right out. They are not, they're single pin. So when you take the pin out on the one side, they just sort of hinge out and you can pull them straight out. They just, in the front, they sort of sit in with a tab. When I purchased this, the right hand hammer is much easier to cock than the left hand hammer. Now, this is something that a lot of people would say, oh, they can't get the hammer weights right. It must be a piece of garbage, yada, yada, yada. And while I'd say it's definitely not the most desirable thing, it's not a terrible thing either. I basically found once I cleaned it up a little bit, I removed just a teeny bit of wood on the inside of the action, on the the internal of the the tang area of the stock, and that freed it up and made it a lot more equal. And I've been finding the more I shoot this, the more it breaks in, and the more it breaks in, the more equivalent all of the pressures are. And I really think that's just an issue of this flat spring that's on the left hammer is just a little bit heavier than the one on the right. That being said, it hasn't affected trigger pull at all. They both, the triggers, amazing. They're not going to win any awards, but for a factory shotgun in $1,000 price range, fantastic triggers. So that's the scoop there. Moving back to our butt. I don't know the exact comb angle or height over bore, but I'll tell you this. I have yet to pick up a shotgun that shoulders better than this. This is lightning. It's smooth. It's repeatable. I absolutely love the way that this shotgun fits me for my cheek. It is a little bit of a lower comb, so if you're like me, I learned to shoot English style, so that's what I do with this. And the way I do it, I have more of a chin weld than a cheek weld because I like to keep my head high up on the gun. But from a ready position, it just tucks right up where I want it, and I can move around however I like. Okay, of course I'm more like this, but I still get my 3 fingers on the comb between my nose and the front end of the comb there. So it is fit pretty much as good as you can get with a factory gun for my particular build. So we've got that. It is also Turkish walnut. It's a semi-pistol grip. I wouldn't call it a pistol grip, and I wouldn't call it a full-on Prince of Wales. It's somewhere in between. It definitely feels good in the hand. A gun like this that's meant to be, have that nostalgia factor to it, I prefer a straight grip on shotguns. I just do. That works better for me. It's what I'm used to. It's what I prefer. This is still good enough that it doesn't interfere with the way I shoot. And if you like having some sort of pistol grip to get your trigger wherever however your particular style is for how you mount your triggers, it's not going to interfere with anyone's style. This is a gun that can be shot and picked up by anyone, and they should be able to use it competently if they know how to run a shotgun. I should say if they know how to run a shotgun in the English style. It's certainly doable if you're used to over-unders, but it's just there's a learning curve there. Side-by-sides are more instinctual to shoot, whereas over-unders are more calculated. And I'm more of an instinctual shooter, so this works better for me. The butt plate. There is no cushion. This is a soft shooting gun. It's not incredibly heavy, but it's heavy enough that it takes all of the harshness out of recoil, even with buckshot. I'm very happy with it. The butt plate is also color case hardened, and it does its job. It mounts nicely, it doesn't slide around, and it does exactly what I want it to. As far as swing, going to this from a 26-inch shotgun, at first this thing felt a little nose heavy. And frankly, for a side-by-side, it is just a little bit nose heavy, but you get used to it and adapt to it very quickly. It swings nicely. It's still lightning fast compared to any over-under I've shot. It's just, I can't say enough good things about this. I was apprehensive when I bought it because I knew it was made in Turkey, and I haven't heard good things about Turkish shotguns. But I'm very pleasantly surprised with this thing. There you have it. Okay, the CZ Hammer Classic. Really fantastic shotgun. As usual, CZ product. I just don't think you can go wrong with it. I know they've been having issues with their new bolt action series that's been coming out, but knowing CZ, they'll have that rectified very soon. I do miss the 500 series rifles in that action, but we'll see where they go in the future. I definitely don't fault them for simplifying their lineup. So that being said, fantastic gun. As I mentioned, my only gripes were just, the couple little nitpicky things. If you do decide to purchase one of these Huglu shotguns, it is good to note all the screws on here are made pretty well. They're not soft or anything like that. They're not going to strip out on you easily. But your regular screwdrivers aren't going to work with them. You need to get the thinner profile European style flathead screwdrivers. They're the only things that'll fit the slots. The slots on these screws are very narrow. I actually couldn't get this apart to clean it when I first got it. I had to grind down one of my other screwdrivers and use that. But even I have a full set of gunsmithing screwdrivers from Brownells, and none of them were even thin enough for these. So just beware of that. It's not like you have to take it apart all the time, but it is good to know how, so you can do an annual service on it and make it last forever. So that's the scoop there. I appreciate you all tuning in. I should have some more content coming up soon. And that's it. Thanks.
Pull. Freaking safety. Oh. Pull. 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 Pull.